Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube channel. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you seasoned veterans of what we do around here. What we do around here is bring about conversations of a psychological, mental health, emotional health paradigm. We do that as often as we can, usually several times per week. We do that for your listening pleasure, although lately, obviously, my schedule has been a little bit crazy, so it hasn't been as best as I'd like it to be. Anyway, we're going to try and be better about that in 2023, regardless. Signs of releasing emotion and what it looks like to need to do that. And so that is really useful. If you're new here, please like, subscribe, comment below, all that good stuff. Expanding in 2023, looking for new coaching clients as well. Please feel free to reach out at PO Perception on Twitter and or in the About Me YouTube section, and we can see what we can do there. Anyway, so what are some things that you have to do in order to release emotion appropriately? The first thing is kind of aggregate yourself to the simple fact that you don't know everything that you needed to know in order to protect yourself appropriately from whatever emotions were stored within you. So what that means is ultimately accepting that you have what you need to deal with all things, but you may not necessarily have all the information to process your emotions appropriately at any given time. Accept the fact that you didn't have everything you needed emotionally to be able to process things, and then forgive yourself for the process of holding on to things that weren't in your best interest. Remember, life is a choose your own adventure game or experience, and so what that really means is that all the world is a stage, and the things that we focus on and the things that we ultimately, become concerned about are only influenced by how we see the world, and we may not see everything necessary to protect ourselves well, to do right by ourselves, to take proper self-care, to do the things we need to do. And forgiving ourselves for the things that we don't know is one of the most important things that any person can do in order to make an intelligent and valuable and self-informed and self-aware decision. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean letting yourself go or negatively impacting everything you need to do, but it does mean kind of looking at yourself in a manner which may not be as judgmental as you would have seen before, because otherwise, at the end of the day, what really happens is you're not necessarily looking at yourself in the right perspective or in a manner which leads you in a productive and useful and helpful manner. And so the next thing to look at is finding an outlet for your negative emotions. The release of negative emotion is valuable only when we release it appropriately and we understand how to do that. And so emotional release is as much about finding a way to cope with things as it is finding a way to get rid of the emotions we cannot handle. And getting rid of them doesn't necessarily mean that we never feel them again, but it's finding a way to cope with them and get a release for them. Some people use music, some people use, different ways of believing, some people use prayer or different focus, some people use, exercise, physical involvement, some people use their religious faith or other belief systems, some people use friendships or other artistic endeavors, but it's finding a method that you believe in that allows you to release. Now, that release doesn't mean the emotions won't come back, but it means having a system where you know when you're getting flooded with emotions that you can't handle or that aren't serving you well, that you can go back into those negative emotions to be able to find the best way to get rid of them as quickly as possible. Processing them is about acknowledging that they exist, acknowledging that they do have a place in your life because they're there to teach you something, but then getting rid of them as quickly as possible so that you don't dwell or ruminate upon them is equally essential. Finding ways to do that almost in an on-demand way and getting in the habit of checking in with yourself for the things that aren't going in your right direction more often can also be helpful, because when we tend to let emotions stack on us, we get to a place that isn't necessarily helpful, good, healthy, or justified. And a lot of times the self-judgment that comes with not knowing how to handle our emotions causes us to be self-critical to the point where we lose all gratitude. And gratitude is important. Remember that life is just a series of experiences created together to create history, memory, and time. And so just because it's a bad life doesn't mean, or a bad moment, or a bad week, or a bad month doesn't mean it's a completely bad life. And so finding ways to be grateful, even in the midst of hardship, is essential to finding your level of personal balance. Hopefully this is helpful. Until next time, everybody.